Good morning, children. This is your English teacher, Ramakanta Sir. I welcome you all to this interactive section. Dear children, today we are going to discuss about the first chapter of your English book, that is A Letter to God. This beautiful story has been written by a Mexican writer, G.L. Fuentes. Yeah, this particular beautiful story has been written by G.L. Fuentes. Now, let us go into the story. In this particular section, I would discuss with you the theme of the story, the characters involved in this particular story, as well as I would try to give you a such summary of which so that you can go through it and prepare for your examinations also. At the end of the session, you will be provided with some of the questions. The questions have been taken from your textbook only. So please do read the textbook also. The textbooks are very important for you. It is just a small supplementary material for you. This PPT videos, these are all supplementary things. The most important tool that you have with you is your textbook. So anyway, let us start the discussion. As you can see on the screen, the theme of this particular story is about the unshakable faith of a man on the God. Through this story, the writer has tried to depict the invincible and insurmountable faith of a poor farmer on God. This also shows that there are some good people in the world, although they are not God, but not their deeds are not less than the God. This is the most important thing for me, as I feel we all believe in the God. At this present moment, especially when the coronavirus is there, we all are very much worried about life. Already 70,000 people have lost the battle. They have surrendered to the ultimate call of the nature. So everybody is trying to please their God. Everybody is praying day and morning and evening, every time. Almost all the people, whether they are celebrities or common people, farmers, executives, it doesn't matter. We all are equally worried and we are all praying to the God. Similarly, in this particular story, you will find a man who had unshakable faith on God. What do you mean by unshakable faith? Means his faith was so strong that you can't even shake it. You can't even change his faith. You can't even alter him. He was very much focused on God. He believed that God exists in the world. He believed that all his sorrows will be taken away by the God. He believed that God is there to take care of him. I think there must be some students amongst you who will be also very much religious or very much having faith. I mean, you must be believing in the God. In the same way, this particular man in the particular story also had unshakable faith. So the writer here, G.L. Fuentes, has tried to depict the invincible and the insurmountable faith of that particular farmer. He was a farmer by profession. He did agriculture and he mostly got his income from that particular source only. All his family demands were being met by the incomes that he made from the that particular agriculture. So let us now come to the story. Let us discuss about the characters. Who are the characters here? Who is the protagonist? Protagonist means, my dear children, protagonist means the central character of a story. The central character of a story is called protagonist. So in this particular story, you will mostly found two characters. One is Lencho, the poor farmer, and the second character involved in this particular story is the postmaster. However, I feel that I should have included one more category of characters here. That is there are some employees in the post office also, and they are also indirectly involved in this particular story. So I thought that they are also a part of the story. But while developing the PPT for you, I missed it. Okay, so you may, while writing the summary, you may also include that. So let us know about Lencho. What kind of man was Lencho, and what was he doing, and why the writer has written about him? Lencho was a poor farmer. He did farming. He has immense faith on God. Once the rain turned into hailstones and destroyed his crop, Lencho wrote a letter to God to send him 100 pesos. So here you can see that if you are a farmer, you need rainfall very much. Rain is required, rain is essential for the growth of your crop. If there is a good rain, then definitely your income is going to be doubled. But if there is no rainfall in a particular crop season, then definitely you are going to be in a loss. But what happened, if you go through the text, if you go through the story, then you will come to know that when the rain started, when the rain started, Lencho was very much excited, and he started thanking God. He was very much excited that his crop is going to give him a very good return this year. But what happens the next moment? His joy was not permanent. His excitement was short-lived. It was not for a long time. Within a very short period of time, a strong wind came. A strong wind came, and that turned the drama. That turned the rainfall into hailstones. Do you know what is hailstones? Hailstones, I think in Hindi you call it ola. ओले गिरने शुरू हो गए. And that is not at all desirable for a farmer. It is not at all required for the agriculture. And that particular hailstones on that day destroyed the crop of Lencho. Lencho could not believe what was going on there. And the very same day, he was excited to have the new raindrops. But by evening, the rain had started turning into hailstones, and that ultimately destroyed his crop. So he was very much disappointed. Very much disappointed. He must have cried a lot. If you go through the story, then you will get to know he cried a lot because he was worried about the future of his children, about his family. He had no other source of income for his family. That was the only source of income that he had. And because of that, he got worried. Now, he had no other way except complaining to God, since he believed that God exists in the nature, God is there. So he cried and finally came to a conclusion that he would write a letter to God. But for what? Kisly. But for what? For what reason he is going to write a letter? There are two reasons behind writing a letter to God here. The first reason is that the first reason is that why did God destroy his crop? He's very much close to God. He feels that God is definitely going to help him also. He feels connected. I think he's a very good man, very sincere, very genuine, very honest. So he thought that I would keep these 2 points before my God. The first point was that why the hailstone was sent to destroy his crop, and the second, as he has no other source of income, so he demanded 100 pesos to support his family. Now, this seems ironical. I can't just believe that whether a normal human being would be writing a letter to God. I've never seen someone writing a letter to God. Have you ever written a letter to God? If you have done so, then that's great. If you know the address where God lives, and that's really very good, and you must share with all of us. So, my dear children, we do not know where do God live. Where does He live? Okay, but still, look at the faith of this particular common man. Look at the faith of this particular farmer. He wrote a letter and he went to the post office to post it also. Now, here comes the role of the second character. So, this was all about Lencho. Lencho was a farmer. I repeat the same for you again. He was a farmer. He had no other source of income except agriculture. But once his crop was destroyed by the hailstones, so he decided to write a letter to God demanding 100 pesos to support his family. Anyway, let us keep aside for a few moments and let us focus on what is the role of the second character in this particular story, the postmaster. This postmaster mentioned in this particular story, which has been created, the character which has been created by the writer, is a very kind hearted man who felt pity after reading Lencho's letter to God. So, definitely, it is the duty of a postmaster to make sure that where the letters are going, it is his duty to make sure that the addresses have been mentioned properly. If the addresses are not mentioned properly, then your letters cannot be communicated or cannot be sent to that particular person. So that's why, while sorting it out, he found the letter of Lencho and he laughed a lot. If you go through the text, there it is clearly written, he laughed a lot. Initially, he took it very casually, he was not at all serious about it. And he thought that what kind of man this Lencho is, who has written a letter to God. In my career, I have never seen someone writing a letter to God. So, this is the first experience that he got in his life, also. That someone has tried to write a letter to God and also has visited the post office to post it. After reading that particular letter, his mind changed completely. Here comes the question, why his mind changed completely? As in the very beginning phrase of this particular second part of this postmaster character, there I have mentioned that he was a very kind hearted person, a man with a kind heart, a man with a golden heart. He can't see someone's sorrow, and after coming to know about the destruction of crop by the hailstones and the pitiful condition of Lencho, he talked to all the employees of his office. Initially, They were also laughing at the foolishness shown by this particular Lencho, but later on they realized that if God does not answer to these questions of this particular Lencho, what would happen to his faith? He's a very simple man, a genuine man, an honest man. If his question is not answered, if God does not give him something, if God does not send him 100 pesos, what would happen to him? From the very next moment, he would l- lost or he will stop believing in God. He would stop believing in God. And that is what they did not want. They did not want Lencho's faith to be altered. Altered means badalna. They did not want Lencho's faith to be shaked. They wanted to be restored. बचाना चाहते थे. They wanted to save his faith. That is why they all decided to help Lencho. How they would decide? So, with the help of the postmaster, under the guidance of the postmaster, under the leadership of the postmaster, the post office employees contributed 70 pesos. 70 pesos, 70 pesos, and they kept it ready for Lencho. So when Lencho would come to know about the status of his letter, they would hand him over this particular letter. Not just money, but they also have written a letter on behalf of God, Bhagwan ke naam se. On behalf of God, they have written a letter so the Lencho would believe that God has replied to his query, God has replied to his letter, and also has given some of the financial help. Let us see what happens. Now, we'll come to the summary of the story. I've written the summary very briefly. I'll simply go through it, and I think you all should take note of this also. In your notebooks, you can write down this particular summary, and after that, before this, you should also go through the text and note down the meanings of the difficult words that you encountered in the chapter. Okay, so let us come to the short summary of this chapter. Lencho was a hardworking farmer. He was expecting a good return from the field, but unfortunately, his dreams were ruined by the hailstones which destroyed his crop entirely. He got disappointed with it and decided to write a letter to God asking 100 pesos for him. Finally, he wrote a letter and went to the post office to send it. The postmaster had never seen someone sending a letter to God. He could not believe it and opened it to know about the facts. After going through the letter, the postmaster felt sorry for what had happened with Lencho. The postmaster was a very kind hearted man. He finally decided to help Lencho by sending him some money to reduce the stress and burden. He thought if Lencho does not receive anything from God, then his faith would be questioned. So he collected and sent 70 pesos to Lencho on behalf of God. Now let us come to the ending part of the story. What happens when Lencho was handed over 70 pesos on behalf of God? Okay, and was given by the postmaster. Let us see. When Lencho counted the money and found it to be only 70 pesos, he got angry. When Lencho received the money, he opened the envelope, found that there are some financial aid for him. So he was not shocked. He was not excited, or he was not shocked. That was quite natural because he believed that God would answer his question. He's such a simple man that he even didn't know that God whether exists in the nature or not. So that's why what he did, he got angry because he had demanded 100 pesos from God, and God can't do like this. God must have sent 100 pesos for him. Then what is the remaining 30 pesos? Now let us come to the next part of the story. He suspected the involvement of the postmaster in this act. That day, he decided to write another letter to God to complain about the rest of the money. Now, here comes the most important, the most interesting section of this particular story. This is the irony of the story. You see, he suspected the involvement of the postmaster. उसने किसको सस्पेक्ट किया? उसने सस्पेक्ट किया पोस्टमास्टर को. उसने सोचा कि ये जो पोस्टमास्टर हैं और इनके जो एम्प्लॉयज़ हैं, इन्होंने कुछ गड़बड़ किया है. ज़रूर इन्होंने मेरे जो बाकी 30 पैसोज हैं, इन्होंने इसके साथ कुछ तो किया है. ये ज़रूर निकाल कर ले गए होंगे. दे आर, आई थिंक दे आर क्रुक. सो नाउ he wrote another letter. He decided to write another letter to God to complain about the rest of the money. Why he is going to write the letter? To inform God that out of 100 pesos sent by the God, he has only received 70 pesos. So, pyare bachcho, here comes the irony, the most interesting section here. You see, the man who decided to help Lencho in times of trouble was finally blamed by Lencho. It happens in your everyday life also. Sometimes you try to help others, but in return, they blame you, they suspect you, they blame you, and they say that you are not a well wisher of them. And the same thing is happening with Postmaster. He had never expected that Lencho would blame him for being involved in the money laundering case or for taking away 30 pesos of him, whereas the 70 pesos that Lancho has received has been given by the postmaster and his employees only. So anyway, that is the conflict between human and human. इसी को लिटरेचर में हम लोग कहते हैं, इट्स द कन्फ्लिक्ट बिटवीन ह्यूमन एंड ह्यूमन. Human versus human means human beings do not believe other human beings. This is the conflict. Okay, you see, postmaster was a good, kind-hearted, honest, and a very noble and genuine personality, whereas Lencho is going to question his personality now. Lencho is pointing at his character. Lencho is saying that he is involved in the this particular act. He suspected that he has taken away his 30 pesos. Whereas the bitter truth of this particular story is that it is the same postmaster who has sent him 70 pesos by collecting it from his employees. So, this is the story, and he also requested God. This is the most interesting part. This time, he has written in the letter, Lencho has written that, God, please do not send money through the post office because these people are crooks and they may steal the money again. अगर आप मेल से भेजोगे तो हो सकता है कि ये लोग जो हैं पोस्ट ऑफिस वाले, ये फिर से मेरे पैसे को चोरी कर सकते हैं. So my dear children, with this we have come to the discussion part of the story. I hope you have enjoyed it. Now here some questions have been given, uh, comprehension questions. You should try to answer it. Okay. Who was Lancho? Why did he write a letter to God? It's quite simple question. Okay. Second question is, Why does the postmaster send money to Lencho? Why does he sign the letter God? It's again very simple one. Third one, why did Lencho get angry after receiving letter from God? Number 4, what were Lencho's feelings when hail stopped? Number 5, who does Lencho think has taken the rest of the money? What is the irony in the situation? So with this, we have come to the end of the session. Thank you and have a great day.